Hi, y'all. Jessie Farron from thebudgetmama.com. You guys seem to really enjoy these videos that I've been sending you in my email newsletters, and so I thought I would create another video for you. Definitely email me and let me know if you are enjoying these videos. I would love to keep creating them for you. I always look for different and new ways to serve you better. So please let me know if this is serving you well or if it's not, or how you best like for me to serve you. And so I thought I would talk to you about our budget fail this week. It was a pretty big budget fail. As many of you know, my husband no longer works at the company he was working for. It was your kind of standard corporation type of environment, even though my husband worked all the time. So I definitely can't say that he worked a typical 9-to-5 job. But it was a very standard corporation in how it was set up and how our health insurance was set up. You know, we just made our little small premium payment, and the company that my husband worked for made the other part of that premium payment. We were part of a group plan insurance company. And so now that he is back to being self-employed, we don't have your typical insurance anymore. We now have, and I'll show you the little packet. We have Christian Healthcare Ministries. It is not your typical insurance. Basically, when we go to the doctor's office, we don't show them an insurance card. We actually have to pay out of pocket for the visit or have the bill sent to us if we can't afford to pay for the visit outright. We have to have the bill sent to us, and then we submit the bills to Christian Healthcare Ministries, and then everyone who pays into Christian Healthcare Ministries, that money ends up paying for our healthcare bills. They send us a check, and then we submit it to the doctor's office in order to pay for the visit. Well, I totally forgot about this. I budgeted to pay for Christian Healthcare Ministries this month to make our monthly payment. We made our monthly payment. But I totally forgot that our sweet baby girl, Charlotte, turned 1 year old this month, and which means she had to go to her 1-year checkup. And I totally forgot about this. And she obviously had to have her vaccines done as well. So I remembered the day before her visit that we no longer have regular insurance. Through my husband was working with the company that he was working for, with our regular insurance, all of our well visits, all of our children's well visits were completely paid for. We didn't even have to pay for a copay. So I wasn't used to budgeting for a doctor's visit, not a normal doctor's visit anyways. And so I was like, oh my goodness, I don't even know how much this visit's going to be. Like, I literally have no concept of how much it costs for just a well visit. I don't even know, which is pretty sad because I went to school for medical billing and coding. But so I have no idea. So I had to call them. And we kind of got this estimate going, and I realized it's going to be almost $300. And I'm like, holy crap, I did not plan this very well. So I had to go into our slush fund, which I'll explain more about slush fund in a minute in case you've never heard me say it before. I had to go into our slush fund and pull out $300 to make sure that we had this money for the very next day. So I went to Charlotte's doctor's appointment. Thankfully, they ended up not giving her 2 of the vaccinations. They decided that she didn't really need them until she was 15 months old, only because she's not in daycare. She stays home with me, so she's not exposed to any unvaccinated children. So that saved us a little bit of money. So it ended up only being $210 versus nearly $300, which was good, but it was definitely a learning curve for me that I'm going to have to do better and pay attention better next time. And so our slush fund is our buffer between our emergency fund and our checking account. Our slush fund is there in case if there's any type of budgeting mistakes, like this week's budget mistake. So if there's any type of budgeting mistakes, instead of having to go into our emergency fund, we can go into the slush fund. So our emergency fund can just stay there for dire emergencies. You know, my husband, when he fell out of a 2-story window, this is a few years ago, our oldest child was actually just a baby at the time. Our emergency fund was completely drained because we had to pay for a ton of medical bills in relation to that accident. And that's a true emergency. And so that would be something that we would go into our emergency fund to pay for. Our slush fund is just a buffer between them for just silly mistakes, like this mistake from this week that I'm telling you about, with where I didn't plan for paying for this doctor's visit out of pocket. I should have realized and been cognizant of the fact that we were going to have to pay for this doctor's visit. Because my process for setting up our zero balance budget is I sit down at the beginning of the month with my calendar and my little budget sheet that I do it on. And I sit down, and that's how I make our budget every single month. I just look at our calendar and I'm like, okay, this and this and this is happening this month. Okay, so how much is that going to cost? Yada, yada, yada. And her doctor's visit was on the calendar. I just completely spaced and didn't think about the fact that we were going to have to pay for that out of pocket now. And so I encourage you that if you don't sit down every month to create your budget with your calendar in front of you, definitely do that. It's a game changer. It helps to keep a lot of these budget mistakes and budget fails under wraps because you're planning around the events that are happening that month versus just making a budget and hoping that nothing else comes up. So definitely learn from my mistake and pay attention to what you're doing, because I didn't pay attention to the fact that we were going to have to pay this money. So definitely do that. But if you do end up having budget mistakes, which you more than likely will because no one is perfect, we're all human, make sure that you have some sort of buffer account that you can just draw from, whether you keep, just $200 in that account, whether you keep more than that. We like our minimum threshold to be $1,000. Our maximum threshold in our slush fund is $1,000. I usually don't try to keep any more than that because I feel like that's just unnecessary. If it's more than $1,000, then it's more than likely a serious enough emergency that it should come from our emergency fund. But you get to decide, you get to set up the parameters. So if you don't already have something like a slush fund in place, I encourage you to make that happen. So that was our budget fail. So I always like to share how I succeed, but I also like to share how we have failed with money because I feel like that allows everyone to understand that I am not perfect. That even though that this is real life on a budget, that I like to truly share our real life and how it works and how it doesn't sometimes work. So again, just to recap, if you that when you create your budget every month, sit down with your calendar. Pay attention to what you're doing and make sure that you have all of those events that are coming up for the month planned out within your budget and that you have some sort of buffer account in place for any mistakes that do end up happening. And again, if you enjoy these videos, please email me and let me know if you do or if you don't. So that way I can plan these hopefully every week, especially when my two oldest kids are in school. It's a lot quieter here during the summer and during their fall breaks and their winter breaks. I probably won't be able to record videos because you'll just have screaming children in the background. But just please let me know what you think. Thanks so much, and I hope y'all are having an awesome day.